My name is Claire Bennett. I'm 37, and I never thought my family would be the ones to destroy my life. But last spring, at a crowded airport in Rome, they did exactly that. We were supposed to be healing. A family trip to Italy, a chance to reconnect after my divorce. I'd paid for most of it, hoping to buy a little peace, maybe even forgiveness. But at the check-in counter, everything fell apart. My brother Adam demanded I send more money home for emergencies. I finally said no. I was tired of being the family's ATM. That's when the mood shifted. My mother called me selfish, unstable, a burden. My brother snatched my phone for group photos. And my dad insisted on holding my passport for safety. I didn't realize what was happening until it was too late. When they got their boarding passes, I reached for mine, only to find it missing. My return ticket had been canceled. My family looked me in the eye and told me to figure it out. Then they walked away, disappearing through security without a backward glance. I stood frozen, heart pounding, realizing I'd been set up. No phone, no passport, no way home. I tried to plead with the help desk, but security told me to leave the restricted area. I was alone, abandoned in a foreign country by the people I'd spent my whole life trying to please. That's when he appeared, a man in a tailored suit, watching from across the terminal. He walked over, leaned in, and whispered, "Pretend you're my wife. My driver is about to arrive. Trust me, they'll regret this." I had no idea how right he was. I hesitated for a heartbeat, but desperation won. I gripped the stranger's hand, letting him lead me away from the chaos of the terminal. My mind raced. Was I making a mistake? But as we slipped past security and out to the curb, I realized I had nothing left to lose. A sleek black car waited at the curb, engine idling. The driver, stone-faced in a crisp uniform, opened the door without a word. The man guided me inside, settling next to me as the city lights blurred past the tinted windows. For a moment, we sat in silence. I clutched my small carry-on bag, the only thing my family hadn't managed to take. Finally, he spoke, his voice calm and measured. "I'm Lucas Hayes, 42. I run a private equity firm in New York. And you are?" I swallowed, trying to steady my voice. "Claire Bennett, 37. Thank you for whatever this is." He gave a slight, almost amused smile. "I saw you at the help desk. You didn't panic. You tried to fix it. That's rare." I looked at him surprised. I didn't have much choice. Security was about to escort me out. Lucas nodded. "Resourceful. That's why I stepped in. I need someone like that for a short time." I blinked, unsure if I'd heard him right. "What do you mean?" He leaned back, watching the city roll by. "In 2 weeks, I have a major charity gala in New York. It's not just a party. It's where I close a deal with partners who value stability. A widower in his 40s makes them nervous. They worry about emotional decisions. My cousin's been using it to stir doubt in the company. A stable marriage appearance would shut that down." I stared at him, piecing it together. "So you want me to pretend to be your wife?" He nodded. "Just for the gala and a few events. In return, I'll get you back to the States tonight on my jet, provide secure housing in Manhattan, the 50,000 in cash, and a new phone. Plus, I'll help you figure out what your family is really up to." Something about their abandonment felt calculated. The number landed heavy. It was more than I'd saved in years. But I wasn't ready to jump blindly. What's the risk for me? Why trust me not to talk? He met my eyes, steady and direct. "Fair question. I don't. But the agreement would include confidentiality on both sides, and honestly, I'm in a weak spot, too. My cousin's building a case against me. I need this to buy time. His honesty surprised me. He wasn't pretending to be invincible. I weighed my options. Immediate safety, the money, the chance to uncover what my family was planning. After years of putting their needs first, this felt like taking control back. One more thing, I said, my voice firm. My identity stays protected. No real names in public if possible, and I get final say on what stories we tell about us. Lucas considered, then extended his hand. Deal. We shook on it as the car pulled up to a private terminal. A sleek jet waited on the tarmac, engines already warming. We boarded quickly, the cabin luxurious but understated. I buckled in as the plane taxied, exhaustion finally hitting. For the first time that day, I wasn't alone in crisis. Sleep came easier than I expected, lulled by the hum of the engines and the soft glow of city lights fading beneath us. When I woke, the jet was descending over New York, the skyline shimmering in the early dawn. Lucas was already working on his laptop, focused and silent, but he glanced up as I stirred. "Welcome to New York," he said, his tone almost gentle. "We'll get you settled first. Then we'll talk details." A car met us on the runway, whisking us through quiet city streets to a high rise in Manhattan. The doorman greeted Lucas by name, barely glancing at me. Inside, the private elevator opened to a penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view that made the city look endless. A woman in her 50s, Maria, greeted us with a warm smile. "Your suite is ready, Ms. Bennett. If you need anything, just ask." I followed her down a hallway to a guest room that felt more like a sanctuary than a hotel. Soft lighting, crisp sheets, a view of the city waking up below. I showered, letting the hot water wash away the grime and shock of the last 24 hours, then changed into comfortable clothes Maria had laid out. On the nightstand, a new phone waited, fully charged. I picked it up, hands trembling, and dialed the only number I knew by heart, my cousin, Hannah, who'd always been more like a sister. She answered on the second ring, her voice laced with worry. "Claire, where are you? Your mom called me 3 times already. She said you had a breakdown at the airport in Rome, that you just disappeared." I sat on the edge of the bed, gripping the phone tighter. "I'm safe in New York. What did they say?" Hannah hesitated, then sighed. "They're telling everyone you lost it. That the divorce finally caught up with you. That you were acting paranoid and just walked off. They're painting it like you're unstable, that you might hurt yourself or make bad decisions with money." My stomach twisted. That's not what happened. They canceled my ticket, took my phone. I was stranded. "I believe you." Hannah cut in gently, but they're not stopping there. "Your mom mentioned getting legal help to protect you from yourself. Something about filing for temporary conservatorship. They're talking about the condo grandma left you. The one in Manhattan." The words hit like ice water. The condo was my only real inheritance, a 2-bedroom in a prime building, deeded to me, because my grandparents knew how hard I'd worked. "They're trying to take control of it." Hannah's voice was grim. "From what I overheard, yes. They're gathering statements. Old emails where you vented about stress, maybe doctor visits for anxiety. In New York, conservatorship isn't automatic, but if they show evidence of incapacity, a judge could appoint a guardian temporarily." I stood up, pacing the room. Doubt crept in. Had my post-divorce meltdowns been that bad, I'd canceled plans, withdrawn sometimes. But then clarity sharpened. This was calculated, building on real vulnerabilities to twist the narrative. "Hannah, can you forward anything they've sent you?" "Emails, documents." "Already on it," she said. My phone buzzed with incoming messages, screenshots, drafts, a list of concerns they'd compiled. I scanned them quickly, anger replacing any self-doubt. They weren't worried about me. They were positioning themselves as saviors to seize assets. I thanked Hannah, promised updates, and hung up. The penthouse was quiet as I headed downstairs, finding Lucas in a modern office off the living area, reviewing papers. "I need to talk," I said directly, stepping in. He looked up, setting aside his work. "Everything okay?" "No." I handed him the phone to show the screenshots. "My family isn't just upset. They're building a case for conservatorship, using my divorce stress as proof I'm incompetent to handle my own finances, especially the condo." Lucas scrolled through, his expression turning serious. "This is sophisticated. In New York. It's not like California. Conservatorships here are rare for adults without severe cognitive issues, but possible if they prove grave risk to property or self. They're smart not to claim disappearance. Framing it as mental health concern makes it harder to dismiss outright." I nodded, leaning against the desk. "We need to counter this fast. Use your lawyer to file something preemptive, maybe an affidavit of competency, or block any petitions." He didn't hesitate. "Martin Cole is the best for asset protection. I'll call him now." Within an hour, Martin arrived, a sharp man in his 50s, briefcase in hand. He listened as I explained, reviewing the forwarded evidence on a secure tablet. "They're laying groundwork," Martin said, "but we can respond aggressively. Medical evaluation if needed. Financial records showing competent management. I'll draft opposition papers tonight." Lucas added quietly, "My cousin's pulling similar tactics on me, questioning my capacity based on grief. We're both vulnerable here. Full transparency. My position isn't ironclad yet. That admission grounded things. I wasn't aligning with someone untouchable. We were both fighting parallel battles." As Martin left with instructions, I returned upstairs and opened the laptop Maria had provided. I pulled up New York guardianship laws, reading about requirements for petitions, hearings, independent evaluators. For the first time, waiting wasn't an option. I had to arm myself with knowledge. Sitting there in the quiet room, screen glowing in the dim light, a shift settled deep inside. Protecting what was mine meant acting now, not hoping others would. The next morning, the penthouse was alive with quiet energy. Lucas's team arrived early, assistants, lawyers, and a poised event coordinator named Maya. The charity gala was only days away, and every detail mattered. Spreadsheets and vendor contracts covered the dining table. Coffee steaming in mugs as everyone dove in. I didn't wait to be asked. "Mind if I take a look at the program timeline?" I said, pulling a chair up beside Maya. She slid it over without question. Within minutes, I spotted overlaps. 2 keynote speakers scheduled too close, risking delays that could ripple through the entire evening. "This needs shifting," I pointed out, marking adjustments with quick notes. "Move the auction segment earlier. It energizes the crowd before dinner." Maya raised an eyebrow but nodded, impressed. Lucas watched from across the table, saying nothing yet, but I could feel his attention. By the end of that first meeting, I'd restructured the guest seating to avoid awkward placements, putting rival developers far apart while grouping potential partners near each other for natural networking. When a major sponsor emailed concerns about committing fully, citing whispers of instability in Lucas's leadership, I asked to see the thread. Reading the exchanges, I drafted a response on the spot, personalized, acknowledging their long history with the company while highlighting upcoming projects with solid projections. "Send this," I told the team, It addresses the doubt without defensiveness. The sponsor replied positively within hours, increasing their pledge. Lucas pulled me aside afterward. "You're making yourself indispensable." "Good," I replied, "because I'm not here to stand pretty." He gave a short laugh, the first real one I'd heard from him. From then on, he looped me into every decision. I took charge of the reception area layout next, walking the hotel venue myself to map flow, ensuring entry points avoided bottlenecks, placing signature displays where they'd catch eyes immediately upon arrival. Coordinating with the lighting crew, I insisted on warmer tones for the cocktail hour, transitioning to cooler spotlights during speeches to keep energy focused. Lucas opened up more during late sessions. One evening, reviewing budget overruns, he admitted a recent investment flop. A property deal pushed through too quickly after his wife's death. "My cousin's circling it as proof I'm not thinking straight," he said, rubbing his temple. He's right that grief clouded things, but wrong about my ability to recover. I leaned forward. Then show recovery. Pull projections for the next quarter. Highlight corrections already in motion. He considered it, then incorporated my suggestion into the board update. We rehearsed public appearances relentlessly, walking into mock rooms arm in arm, fielding imagined questions from reporters. Our cover story, meeting at a tech conference in Chicago years ago, felt stiff at first. Too formal, I said after one run through. Make it casual. I was handling event logistics for the venue. You complained about the coffee. We bonded over bad catering horror stories. Lucas tried it, adding his own twist about spilling said coffee on my notes. It landed naturally. Even drew a genuine smile from him. As deadlines tightened, I handled vendor escalations, personally negotiating with the florist when deliveries ran late, calming the caterer over last-minute dietary requests from VIPs. Lucas deferred to my calls more often, trusting the instincts honed from years managing high-stakes events. The night before the gala, I ran a final walkthrough at the venue alone. Checklist in hand, every detail aligned, signage positioned perfectly, tech rehearsals flawless, contingency plans for whether or no shows locked in. Back at the penthouse, trying on the gown Maria had helped select. Elegant navy silk that fit like it was made for me. I caught my reflection. The woman staring back, moved with purpose, eyes sharp. Work had pulled me out of survival mode into something stronger, control, earned through competence. Tomorrow's event wasn't just Lucas's test. It was mine, too. The night of the gala arrived, and the Manhattan hotel buzzed with anticipation. Lucas and I entered together, cameras flashing, our practiced smiles hiding the nerves beneath. The ballroom shimmered with crystal chandeliers and the low hum of powerful conversations. I moved through the crowd, making introductions, smoothing over last-minute issues, and keeping an eye on Lucas as he worked the room. Midway through cocktails, Lucas's phone buzzed. His face tightened as he read a message from his PR team. A tabloid had published rumors about his instability, quoting an anonymous source close to the company. We both knew it was his cousin, stirring trouble. Lucas's team responded quickly, but the whispers rippled through the room. One key investor, Mr. Reed, grew distant, his body language closed. I approached him, offering a warm greeting and a quick rundown of the project's latest successes. I showed him revised forecasts and risk mitigation plans on my phone, addressing his concerns directly. He softened, nodding. "You're good at this, Mrs. Hayes." "Thank you, Mr. Reed." Lucas doesn't hide from setbacks. He fixes them. That's why this partnership makes sense. By the end of the night, the contract was signed. Tighter terms, but still a win. Lucas and I left the hotel exhausted but relieved. In the car, Lucas turned to me. You saved the deal. But the rumors will keep coming. I need something stronger to counter the narrative. He paused, then said, marry me. On paper. 1-year contract. It creates undeniable proof of stability. Courts and boards respect that. I didn't flinch. Terms. Full compensation. Legal protection for your assets. Exit clause anytime. I agreed, setting my own conditions. The next day, we signed the papers at City Hall. No ceremony, just signatures and witnesses. As Claire Hayes, I felt a strange sense of power. This wasn't rescue. It was armor. The move to Lucas's Hamptons house was swift and discreet. The property, all glass and ocean views, offered privacy from the media and a fresh start for both of us. I settled into a new routine. Strategy meetings for the resort project, early morning walks on the beach, and late-night planning sessions with Lucas. My role quickly became more than just a placeholder. I analyzed guest feedback, suggested wellness amenities, and helped redesign event spaces for the new resort. Lucas listened, trusted my instincts, and let me lead. For the first time in years, I felt respected for my mind, not just my willingness to help. Meanwhile, Martin kept me updated on the legal front. Your family's petition is weak, but they're persistent. They're using old emails and doctor visits to paint you as unstable. We'll counter with your work history, financial records, and affidavits from colleagues. Lucas faced his own battles. His cousin leaked more rumors. But our public partnership and the successful gala helped steady his reputation. We worked side by side, both fighting to protect what was ours. One afternoon, Martin called with news. Your parents know about the marriage. They're convinced it's a manipulation. They're flying in to confront you. The next morning, my family arrived at the Hamptons house. No hugs, just tension. My father accused me of hiding. My mother insisted they were only trying to help, and my brother looked away, guilt in his eyes. I stood my ground. You tried to steal my life. You left me stranded, then tried to take everything I had left. I'm done being your safety net. Martin laid out the legal documents. Withdraw your petition and make things right, or face a public legal battle. My mother's hands shook. You wouldn't really do this. I met her gaze. Try me. For the first time, I saw fear in their eyes. I realized I was no longer the daughter they could control. The confrontation ended with my parents storming out, my brother trailing behind, and my mother's parting words echoing in the hallway. You're not the daughter we raised. I felt a pang, but it was quickly replaced by relief. I had finally drawn a line they couldn't cross. Martin filed the counter motion that afternoon, submitting evidence of my stability and independence. Lucas's legal team coordinated with ours, and for the first time, I felt like I had an army behind me instead of just a single shield. Days blurred into nights as I focused on work and healing. I poured my energy into the resort project, leading meetings, solving problems, and building a reputation that was mine alone. Lucas and I became a true team. No longer just partners on paper, but allies who understood the cost of betrayal. The court's decision came swiftly. The judge dismissed my family's conservatorship petition, citing lack of evidence and clear proof of my competence. The ruling was public, and word spread quickly. My parents' social circle shrank, and the whispers in their community turned from sympathy to suspicion. Angela, my brother's wife, sent a message. I'm sorry. I should have spoken up sooner. I read it, feeling the ache of what could have been, but I didn't reply. Some bridges, once burned, are better left that way. Lucas's cousin's schemes unraveled as well. The board saw through the manipulation, and Lucas's reputation, bolstered by our partnership and the successful gala, emerged stronger than ever. With the legal battles behind me, I poured myself into my new business. I launched my own event planning firm, using the contacts and confidence I'd gained. Each new client, each successful event felt like a small act of defiance. A reminder that I could thrive on my own terms. For the first time, I felt free to define my own value, to chase my ambitions without apology, and to surround myself with people who chose respect over obligation. Months passed, and my life in New York blossomed. My event planning business grew quickly. Corporate launches, charity galas, and weddings filled my calendar. I filled my condo with art and light, hosted dinners for friends, and let laughter echo through rooms that had once felt empty. Lucas and I maintained our partnership, but the lines between business and friendship blurred. We shared late-night strategy calls, celebrated each other's wins, and confided in each other about the scars our families had left. There was no romance, just a deep, mutual respect and the comfort of knowing we'd both survived the worst. Occasionally, reminders of my family surfaced. My mother sent a letter, her handwriting shaky, asking for forgiveness and hinting at reconciliation. My father's name appeared in the news, his reputation tarnished by the failed legal battle. Angela sent another message, this time simply, "I hope you're happy." I read their words, but I didn't feel the old pull of guilt. I had learned that forgiveness didn't mean letting people back in. It meant letting go of the anger and moving forward. One evening, as I watched the city lights from my balcony, I realized how much I'd changed. I was no longer the woman who waited for her family's approval, who measured her worth by what she could give. I was building a life that was mine, one choice, one boundary, one brave step at a time. Lucas called to check in. "How's the new business owner life?" I smiled. "Better than I ever imagined. I'm not just surviving anymore, Lucas. I'm living." He congratulated me, and we talked about his latest project, the people he'd let go, the new team he was building. We both knew that sometimes the hardest part of moving forward is leaving behind what no longer serves you, even if it's family. That night, I slept soundly, dreaming of new adventures and the endless possibilities ahead. As autumn arrived, the city transformed with golden leaves and crisp air. My business reached new heights, and I was invited to speak at a conference about resilience and reinvention. Standing on stage, sharing my story with a room full of strangers, I felt a sense of pride I'd never known. The questions afterward weren't about my family or my past. They were about hope, about starting over, about the power of saying no. After the conference, a young woman approached me, her eyes shining with tears. "Your story gave me the courage to leave a toxic situation," she whispered. "Thank you for showing me it's possible to survive and to thrive." Her words stayed with me. I realized that my journey wasn't just about breaking free from my family's control. It was about lighting the way for others, proving that you can build a life on your own terms, no matter where you start. Lucas called to congratulate me, his voice full of genuine happiness. "You're changing lives, Claire. I hope you know that." I smiled, feeling the truth of it. I'm just living mine, finally. As the days grew shorter, I spent more time reflecting, journaling, walking through the city, savoring the quiet confidence that had replaced old fears. I no longer worried about my family's opinion or the judgments of people who didn't know my story. I had learned to trust myself, to celebrate my victories, and to forgive my own mistakes. One evening, as I watched the first snow fall outside my window, I realized I was exactly where I was meant to be. Not because everything was perfect, but because I had chosen every step, every boundary, every new beginning. I was no longer the woman left behind at an airport. I was the architect of my own future. Winter settled over New York, and with it came a sense of peace I'd never known. My days were filled with purpose, growing my business, mentoring young women, and savoring the simple joys of independence. I traveled to new cities, explored art galleries, and spent quiet evenings on my balcony, watching the city lights flicker below. Occasionally, memories of my family surfaced. Holidays from childhood, laughter that once felt real, the ache of what was lost. But the pain no longer controlled me. I had learned to honor the past without letting it dictate my future. One afternoon, I received a letter from my mother. It was short, almost hesitant. She wrote about the changes in their lives, the friends who had drifted away, the silence that now filled their home. She didn't ask for forgiveness, but she wished me happiness. I hope you're well, Claire. I hope you found what you were looking for. I read the letter twice, then tucked it away. I felt no urge to reply. I had made my peace, not with them, but with myself. That weekend, I hosted a holiday party at my condo. Friends, colleagues, and clients filled the space with laughter and warmth. As I looked around the room, I realized I had created a family of my own. One built on respect, kindness, and choice. Later, as the snow fell and the city glowed, I stood on my balcony, a glass of wine in hand. I thought about the journey that had brought me here. The betrayals, the battles, the moments of doubt and courage. I whispered a quiet thank you to the woman I used to be, the one who survived long enough to become someone new. I was no longer defined by what I'd lost. I was defined by everything I'd chosen to build. The new year dawned with a gentle light, and for the first time, I woke up feeling at peace. There was no rush, no pressure to become someone else overnight. I made coffee, sat by the window, and watched the world outside slowly come alive. My business continued to thrive, and I started mentoring a new colleague. Someone who reminded me of myself a year ago, nervous, eager, unsure. I told her what I'd learned. You don't have to do it all. It's okay to ask for help. You're allowed to take up space. Lucas and I remained close, our friendship deepening as we both found new footing. He invited me to a spring gala, this time as a guest of honor. As I mingled with guests, I realized how much I'd changed. I was no longer the woman who shrank into the background, afraid to take up space. I spoke with confidence, shared my story when asked, and accepted praise without deflecting it. During the speeches, Lucas took the microphone. This project wouldn't have been possible without Claire Bennett. Her vision, her resilience, and her refusal to give up inspired all of us. She's proof that you can rise above anything, even the people who try to hold you back. The applause was thunderous. I felt tears prick my eyes, not from sadness, but from gratitude. I had built a new life, brick by brick, choice by choice. I had found respect, friendship, and a sense of belonging that had nothing to do with blood. After the event, Lucas and I walked along the river, the city lights reflecting on the water. You did it, Claire, he said quietly. You turned everything they tried to use against you into your greatest strength. I smiled, feeling the truth of his words settle deep. I'm finally free, Lucas, and I'm never going back. As the night air grew colder, I knew that my story was no longer about survival. It was about thriving, on my own terms, in a world I'd chosen for myself. Spring brought a sense of renewal I hadn't felt in years. I filled my days with new experiences. Art classes, weekend hikes, spontaneous dinners with friends. My world had grown wider, richer, and I was finally living for myself. One afternoon, I received an unexpected invitation. Lucas's company was hosting a celebration for the successful launch of the resort project we'd worked on together. He insisted I attend as a guest of honor. The event was held in a glass-walled ballroom overlooking the ocean, sunlight sparkling on the waves. As I mingled with guests, I realized how much I'd changed. I was no longer the woman who waited for her family's approval, who measured her worth by what she could give. I spoke with confidence, shared my story when asked, and accepted praise without deflecting it. During the speeches, Lucas took the microphone. This project wouldn't have been possible without Claire Bennett. Her vision, her resilience, and her refusal to give up inspired all of us. She's proof that you can rise above anything, even the people who try to hold you back. The applause was warm and genuine. I felt a quiet pride, not just for what I'd accomplished, but for the person I'd become. After the event, Lucas and I walked along the beach, the sky streaked with gold and pink. "You're changing lives, Claire," he said. "I hope you know that." I smiled, feeling the truth of it. "I'm just living mine, finally." As the sun dipped below the horizon, I knew that my story was no longer about survival. It was about thriving. On my own terms, in a world I'd chosen for myself. As summer unfolded, I found myself embracing a peace I'd never known before. My days were filled with purpose. Growing my business, mentoring young women, and savoring the simple joys of independence. I traveled to new cities, explored art galleries, and spent quiet evenings on my balcony, watching the city lights flicker below. Occasionally, memories of my family surfaced. Holidays from childhood, laughter that once felt real, the ache of what was lost. But the pain no longer controlled me. I had learned to honor the past without letting it dictate my future. One afternoon, I received a letter from my mother. It was short, almost hesitant. She wrote about the changes in their lives, the friends who had drifted away, the silence that now filled their home. She didn't ask for forgiveness, but she wished me happiness. "I hope you're well, Claire. I hope you found what you were looking for." I read the letter twice, then tucked it away. I felt no urge to reply. I had made my peace, not with them, but with myself. That weekend, I hosted a summer party at my condo. Friends, colleagues, and clients filled the space with laughter and warmth. As I looked around the room, I realized I had created a family of my own, one built on respect, kindness, and choice. Later, as the sun set and the city glowed, I stood on my balcony, a glass of wine in hand. I thought about the journey that had brought me here. The betrayals, the battles, the moments of doubt and courage. I whispered a quiet thank you to the woman I used to be, the one who survived long enough to become someone new. I was no longer defined by what I'd lost. I was defined by everything I'd chosen to build. Autumn arrived, painting the city in gold and crimson. My business thrived, and I was invited to speak at a conference about resilience and reinvention. Standing on stage, sharing my story with a room full of strangers, I felt a sense of pride I'd never known. The questions afterward weren't about my family or my past. They were about hope, about starting over, about the power of saying no. After the conference, a young woman approached me, her eyes shining with tears. "Your story gave me the courage to leave a toxic situation," she whispered. "Thank you for showing me it's possible to survive and to thrive." Her words stayed with me. I realized that my journey wasn't just about breaking free from my family's control. It was about lighting the way for others, proving that you can build a life on your own terms, no matter where you start. Lucas called to congratulate me, his voice full of genuine happiness. "You're changing lives, Claire. I hope you know that." I smiled, feeling the truth of it. "I'm just living mine." Finally, as the days grew shorter, I spent more time reflecting, journaling, walking through the city, savoring the quiet confidence that had replaced old fears. I no longer worried about my family's opinion or the judgments of people who didn't know my story. I had learned to trust myself, to celebrate my victories, and to forgive my own mistakes. One evening, as I watched the first snow fall outside my window, I realized I was exactly where I was meant to be. Not because everything was perfect, but because I had chosen every step, every boundary, every new beginning. I was no longer the woman left behind at an airport. I was the architect of my own future. The year came full circle, and as winter settled over the city, I found myself once again on my balcony, watching the world glitter with holiday lights. But this time, there was no ache of loneliness, no longing for a family that never truly saw me. Instead, there was gratitude for the freedom I'd fought for the peace I'd built, and for the woman I'd become. On New Year's Eve, I hosted a small gathering for friends and colleagues. Laughter filled my home, music played softly, and the warmth of chosen family wrapped around me like a blanket. As midnight approached, I stepped outside, the city alive with fireworks and hope. I raised a glass to the sky, whispering a promise to myself. I will never again let anyone decide my worth. I will keep choosing myself, keep building a life that is mine, and keep loving fiercely. On my own terms. My phone buzzed with a message from Lucas. "Happy New Year, Claire. Here's to new beginnings." I smiled, feeling the truth of it settle deep in my bones. I was no longer a victim of betrayal, no longer defined by the wounds of my past. I was a survivor, a creator, a woman who had turned pain into power. As the clock struck 12, I closed my eyes and breathed in the cold night air, knowing that the best chapters of my story were still ahead. I was finally, truly free.